there, it's Matt from 2A Cops. I have got another DesertTech in my hands, and we're going to take it out to the range, shoot it. I'll give you the heads up here. I am doing this video at the request of Nick Young over at DesertTech. He asked that after my last video, when the customer gets his new gun, he asked me to do a follow-up video. So this is the follow-up video. Unfortunately, I have a feeling Nick is not going to like it. So let's get to the range. Hey there, it's Matt from 2A Cops. I am out here today at the range to do some follow-up on DesertTech. A while back I did a video. You can find the link up here over in the corner to the video. It was a MDRX, belonged to a customer of Boise Black Rifle. It was his second gun, and he had been having absolutely nothing but problems with it from the day he had it. It was a 2.5-year long saga. So, DesertTech popped into the comments on that video, and once there was some clarification, because they were under the impression that I was shooting different ammo. The gun failed completely on my video. I got, I think, 57 rounds through it, if I remember correctly, before it completely stopped firing. Very light, if no primer strikes at all. So, sent the gun back. Customer talked to DesertTech. They gave him a couple of different options. I will 100% give this to them. It took 2.5 years, which it shouldn't ever have taken that long. But they did give him two very solid options as to how he wanted to proceed. One of them was his money back, and the other one was a deal that he worked out, or that they offered, and then he ended up taking him up on it, which was a Wlvrn and some other stuff. So he got his brand new Wlvrn a week ago. Picked it up a week ago from the store. Took it out of the range. All right, let me get my notes here. Where did it go? Here we go. So took the gun to the range on November 13th. He fired 100 rounds through it, or attempted to fire 100 rounds through it. At that time, he was shooting STV Scorpio 55 grain 223. He had 7 failures to ignite. 3 of them were light primer strikes. The ones that were not light primer strikes, he reloaded and they fired. At that point, he started experiencing malfunctions around 50 rounds into the shooting session. At 60 rounds, he opened the gun up, threw some oil in it. November 15th, 2 days later, he went to the range, took 100 rounds of PMC bronze, which is on their list of approved ammo. The STV Scorpio is not. He attempted to fire 100 rounds on November 15th. He had 8 failures to fire. 6 of them had primer strikes. The 2 that did not have primer strikes, light primer strikes, the 2 that did not have any, he reloaded into the gun and they did fire. He checked, because this was an issue. DesertTech actually did a video. It's on YouTube. I'll throw a link to it over here somewhere. They did their own video where they dismantled his gun because they also experienced failures to fire. So they took his gun apart and they found a bunch of debris in the firing pin channel inside the bolt. So they said that he needs to inspect his brass after firing if he's starting to have malfunctions to figure out if he's having primers blow out. So he inspected all of his brass on November 15th. I don't know that if he did that on the 13th. He did not note that he did that on the 13th, so I'm going to assume he didn't. But on November 15th, he checked all of his brass that was on the pile on the ground. He cleaned up before he shot, so he knew it was only his brass. He checked, and there was no popped primers. So November 18th, 3 days later, he took another 100 rounds of PMC bronze to the range. He attempted to fire 100 rounds. He had 4 failures to fire. 3 of them that had light primer strikes. The one that did not, he reloaded it in the gun and it did fire. Checked the brass again. There were no primer blowouts. So he brought the gun into the store yesterday, and at that time I tore the gun apart. Pulled the bolt out of the bolt carrier, pulled the firing pin out of the bolt, and just holding the bolt and attempting to put the firing pin in, you could see that the firing pin wasn't poking through far enough to ignite a primer. It looked like it was bottoming out all the way, but it wasn't. So I started messing with it, cleaned it up, and I did find some brass particles. I don't know that they're primers. It was definitely brass inside the firing pin channel. So I cleaned that up as best I could, put the firing pin back in, put it all back together, and it's here as you see it. So it has been cleared from any debris that was in the bolt. I am going to start shooting this thing here in a couple of minutes. I have multiple loads to try. This is STV Scorpio. They have not tested it. I have run cases of this stuff through every 5.56 gun that I own, and I have never had a problem with it. This is STV Scorpio. This one is PMC Bronze. More Scorpio. I'm running low on PMC Bronze. And then I have some PMC 62 grain X-Tac 5.56. So I got a couple mags with that in it. I'm going to start running the gun here on camera. I have a big black plastic bin over here with a little bit of a backstop set up so I can capture my brass, because people don't pick up their brass at this range, and there is brass everywhere. So I'm going to try and do my best to get the brass to eject into this bin so I can check it. If it starts having malfunctions, I can start checking my own brass and not whatever the hell is laying on the ground out here. So I'm going to reposition the camera. Let me pull the gun out. I will say this, compared to the MDRX, I do kind of like the Wlvrn. It's a little bit svelter. Same optic that was on his MDRX. Gun is functioning nice and smooth at the moment. The big difference between this one and the MDRX is this one just has an open ejection port. It doesn't have that forward eject system on it, which makes the gun cycle much smoother. So let me throw my ears on, get my actual eyes for shooting on, reposition the camera, and we'll start putting some rounds through this thing. Need to thank my channel sponsors. Out at the range today, we're using Thor targets. Targets were provided by Thor Targets. Check them out. Make a good steel target that is very transportable, easily transported. In addition to Thor targets, Aegis Gun Care. I've got a bunch of their stuff over here on my bench. I absolutely love their grease and their lube. Aegis Gun Care, big thanks to them. Absolutely no discount code there called 2A Cops or anything like that. Won't save you any money. Same thing on Thor targets, definitely won't save you any money, so don't do that, don't even bother. And then last but not least, Boise Black Rifle, longest channel sponsor I've had here. They've been helping me do this for about 4 years now. So they've been around for a while. Big thanks to Boise Black Rifle. That's the big black basket bin I'm talking about. If you belong to Costco, you've seen them selling them there. I am going to do my best to make sure the brass lands in there so that I can kind of keep track of what my rounds are and what rounds are not mine. Now let's see where this thing's ejecting. Let's scoot forward. A little more. There we go. Drop the magnification down. Oh yeah, much better. Why is it not hitting that one? But I can hit that one. Where the hell is this hitting? Well, there's, oop, that was the bolt release. Where the hell's the mag release on this thing? There we go. All right. Gun is empty. I'm gonna set it down. PMC Bronze. I'm gonna check what brass is in here real fast while the camera is still rolling. See if I have any evidence. I'm gonna get my actual seeing glasses because I'm seeing something weird on here. Don't go blind when you get old, it sucks. All right, let's see what I got here. Those are some pretty deep primer strikes. Let's see here. I don't think I have all 30, but I have quite a few. There's a weird indentation a mark. Let me see if I can get the camera to pick it up. If not, I'll have to get my cell phone out. I don't know if that's the ejector that's leaving that weird mark on the end of the brass, or what's going on with that, or if it's when it's feeding out of the magazine. But I'm seeing that on every single piece of brass in here. This one's got a lot of scrape marks on the side of it. The end of the case is a little bit deformed. They all have some scrape marks on them. I don't know if that's the bolt sliding over them while they're in the mag. No primers blown out. Definitely some very deep strikes on the primers. All right, nothing in there that, no blown out primers anyways. So I'm gonna talk one thing here regarding the ammo. Take these back off again. One thing regarding the ammo, the STD Scorpio has nickel primers, or it's not brass. I don't know what the metal is. I'm assuming it's nickel. The chunks of debris that I removed from the bolt in this gun when I was looking at it at the store were definitely brass. They were not shiny white metal. They were definitely yellow metal. So I don't know what, I mean, he'd only fired 100 rounds of STD. That was the first thing he put through it, which is the shiny silver primers. And then the other stuff was the PMC bronze, both times, which has brass primers. So I don't know where that material that was in there came from, but it wasn't the STD Scorpio primers. And speaking of STD Scorpio, let's throw some of that in here. Ah, shit, I'm not catching any of my brass. Mag release nice and easy, now that I remember where the mag release button was. Gun is locked open, cycled the whole mag. I'm gonna pick up my brass here while I'm looking at it. Same kind of scraping marks on the bottom of the case, same scrape marks on the sides of the case. Primers are all looking okay. I mean, it's whatever's hitting it and causing that scrape mark is actually deforming the rim on the cartridge a little bit. So if you like reloading, I wouldn't suggest running a Wlvrn. Same marks. The primer strikes almost appear to be getting a little bit less deep. Let's see here. Then again, it is different ammo. So it's possible that the primers are a little bit more recessed on the STD. Hey, remember how to load it. By the way, this thing, the brake that's on this gun is miserable. Damn it. There we go. Keep forgetting to magazine release mat. Keep forgetting to line up my bin here. All right, let me pick up my brass again. Well, got 90 rounds through there so far with no malfunctions, which is good. All right, next mag. So if there's any function issues with this mag in this gun, I had some issues with this in another gun one time, so I'm running this mag just to see if I'm having feeding issues. I am not 100% not going to blame this gun if I do encounter some issues. I'm trying to verify if this mag is no good. All right, back to shooting. Line up your bin, Matt. Hey, there we go. All right, so we are at, what's 3 times 4, Matt? 120 rounds, no malfunctions. All right, looking good so far. And that mag function, which makes me happy. So maybe it was just the particular gun that I was shooting that out of didn't like that mag. All right, this is mag release mat. This is green tip PMC NATO 62 grain green tips. So don't shoot your steel targets, Matt. Let's see if I can figure out where this brass is going to eject. There we go. No malfunctions. Gun's obviously getting a little warm there. That is a lot of oil cooking off. And, I mean, I'm sure this is what it's supposed to do. Yeah, that's right there at the gas port. So I'm just noticing right here, there you go. Just forward of the charging handle, you can see the carbon building up where the gas block is venting outside the handguard there. So I will say this from a shooter standpoint, I'm not getting a lot of gas in my face, which that's a plus. That brake on this thing, under this cover, absolutely miserable. Definitely would be changing the muzzle device. If this was my gun, I'd probably try and run it with a can on it. Although that might induce all kinds of other issues. We are 160 rounds in, and it's still running fine. Let me check the PMC brass, or the X-Tac brass that just came out of there. And I'm going to maintain this pile of brass. These primer strikes are definitely looking shallower, but then again, the X-Tac does have a hard primer, so maybe that's why. That would kind of make sense. Yeah, I mean, all right. I'm going to reposition the camera again, put it over here, and I'm going to tear this thing apart, get into the bolt, and take a look and see if there is any kind of debris in there now. So yesterday was the first time I've taken a DesertTech apart. It took me a minute to figure it out, but it's not hard. Let me, oh, there we go. Helps if you pull it all the way out. So, there's the bolt carrier. It's actually a pretty slick setup. If you want to take the lower all the way off, there's a third pin up here. Push it out, and the whole lower will come off. I don't need to do that for what I'm doing. So, I'm just going to set that out of my way. I am going to need a tool to get the firing pin retaining pin out of here. There we go. That should do it. Nope. Not pointy enough. Ah, pointier. All right, so basically a cotter pin, just like an AR. It's a little more sprung than an AR one, but same idea. Firing pin should drop out of the back now. There she blows. I don't see any evidence of anything weird on the firing pin. All right, let me set that down for a second. So this kind of comes apart a little bit like an AR. You've got this cam here that causes the bolt to rotate. The firing pin keeps it from turning inside the gun. Once you get the firing pin pulled out, you can pull the cam out and then pull the bolt out. And there is brass all over this bolt. I'm gonna get my cell phone out and film this. So I don't think it's blown primers that are the issue. I don't know where the hell this brass is coming from, but I have a better chance of having this focus. Video, here we go. All right, so the bolt was in the bolt carrier. You saw me take that apart. Actually, let me look inside the bolt carrier and see if I see, oh yeah, there's some chunks down in there too, see if I can get the camera to focus. Come on, camera. Not really. But if you look here on the side of the bolt, there is some brass. There are some chunks of brass. Come on, focus camera. Right there at the rear. Look at that chunk right there. That's a flake. That should come right off. Yep. So that's moving around. That's the stuff that has been ending up inside the gun. I don't know where that's coming from. If you look at the front of the cam pin, come on, focus camera, you can see all that brass on it. I don't know what in the hell that is coming from. It is definitely not blown out primers. I inspected every single primer over there. Let's look at the front of the face of the bolt. I need more light. Hey, there we go. I don't see anything going on there. That doesn't look abnormal. But look where that extractor is. There's a chunk of brass in there. Right, let me get the firing pin so I can point to what I'm talking about. Right there, there's a little chunk of brass. There is, oh, here we go, inside the cam pin area. You can see that chunk of brass down in there. These are definitely not blown primers. I will, when I get home, I'm gonna bring that box of ammo home with me. I'm gonna stop doing this out here because I do not have the facility to film this properly. So I am going to leave all of this in this paper towel. There's actually some chunks of brass on here. And I'm gonna take this all home and we will resume filming in my home garage shop. So, where I'm gonna put this, it's not gonna fall apart. Side of the tool bag. All right. And I'm gonna put that right there with it. I'm just gonna put this back inside the, oh, hang on a minute. Let's see if I can get this back in here. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna put this back inside the gun for now without the bolt. Just so I have everything in one place. Close up his lens cap so I don't get his optic jacked up. All right, I put 160 rounds through it. 30 rounds of PMC bronze. What is that? 120, hang on a minute. 90 rounds. Math is not my thing. Good thing you don't have to do math to be a cop. Where the hell was I? 30 rounds of PMC bronze, 90 rounds of STD Scorpio. Those are all 55 grain. And then I did 40 rounds of PMC X-Tac 62 grain, 5.56. So 120 rounds of 223, 40 rounds of 5.56. I have all the brass. There may be 1 or 2 rounds on the ground here that I missed. Most of them, thankfully, I remembered to capture in my big plastic bin. So I will have all that when I take this thing home to go figure out what is going on. It is definitely not blown primers. I don't know where those chunks of brass are coming from, but there is definitely chunks of brass getting inside the bolt carrier of this gun and inside the bolt. All right, home from the range. And I have not taken anything out of the bag yet. So let's get the gun out. So at the range, I pulled the bolt and bolt carrier out of this thing, disassembled the bolt, and I ended up putting the bolt carrier back in there. Here's my tool bag from the range, and here is the bolt and bolt carrier. I'm sorry, the bolt and firing pin and stuff. At the range, I had put 2 rounds, 2 of the empty cases in my pocket. There they are right here. Let me get this camera / cell phone going here. And we can start looking at some of this stuff on a camera that will focus a little better. All right, let's take the bolt carrier back out of there. All right. All right, there's that. Let's get the gun out of the way. And open this thing up here. All right, let's see if I can get this thing to zoom in a little bit and actually be where it needs to be. And I'm gonna get a scribe. Or a pick, rather, to point out a couple things here. All right, so, hey, look at that. You can see right here, there's a chunk of brass. This is all stuff that was in the bolt carrier or on the bolt. I'm sorry, yeah, in the bolt carrier and on the bolt. Let me pick this up, put it on camera here. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick that up. I'm gonna leave it down here because it's focusing better. Inside here, see if I can get it. Nope, I need to get, oh, now it's gone. There's a chunk of brass. There you go, you can see it on the end of the extractor there. See all that brass? Look inside here. See that big old chunk of brass inside there? I don't know what in the hell is stripping the brass like that. But I had 0 blown primers. This gun is eating up the ammo and the brass is getting into the bolt, and that's what's causing the light strikes. So I dried this thing off really good yesterday. When I got it from the owner, it was pretty wet. If it's wet, the oil is going to cause those brass shavings to stick even more. I am going to go get a dental pick real quick, and I want to see if I can get that piece of brass out of there. Well, shit, now it fell down in there further. Oh, there we go. There it is. I don't know if you can see that. There it is. That was in both of those. There's 2 chunks. Those were in the rear of the extractor. This is a giant one in here. See if I can get, there we go. Flip it over and get it from this side. Good job, dropped it in there. This thing was immaculate yesterday. I cleaned it at the gun store. So much, I cleaned it to the point that, I was spraying it out with brake clean. Let's see if I can actually get this extractor off of this. All right, I am going to slide this out of the way for the moment. Try not to knock it over. Oh, while I'm here, let's take a look at these real quick. I don't know if you can see. Where's my... So right here, it's like a big scrape. I think something on the bolt carrier is scraping brass off. This one's even more. You can see there's actually a chunk, if I can get this thing in the right lighting so the camera will pick it up. Right at the tip of this punch, it's scraped off some of the brass. I can see it with my naked eye. It's really hard to try and see it on camera. I think what it's doing, I think something on the face of the bolt. So if this is in the gun like so, these two locking lugs are also the ones that are feeding Jesus, get it on camera, idiot. So in the gun, which is sitting, so barrel's that way, and I've got it in right hand mode. These two lower lugs are what's feeding the ammo out of the magazine. There's another chunk of brass there. Bring this back over here. I have not even attempted to see what's down the firing pin hole. There goes a couple of chunks. I don't know if you saw that. Right there. There's a couple of chunks just came out of the firing pin hole. There's another one that didn't come off the bolt. So this is the stuff he was saying was causing the gun to have light strikes, which I would agree. It's going to cause the gun to have light strikes because this stuff is eventually building up enough inside the firing pin channel. Because this stuff is, there's a bunch coming out of the firing pin channel. It's building up enough that it is getting in that channel and then eventually preventing the firing pin from going all the way forward when it hits either one of those two shoulders. I don't have anything that I can clean that hole out with other than spraying it out of brake clean, which isn't going to help us any to try and diagnose what's going on. Oh shit, there's another chunk right there. See if it'll come out. There we go. Damn it, where'd it go? I need to get this extractor off. There it is. Another chunk. Just fell off. It's right down here. There's another one on there still. There's a bunch more that just came out. I don't know if you can see it. Is it on camera? Right here. Nope, it is not. Let me adjust the camera here. So this just came out from underneath the extractor. There's another chunk that just fell out of there. There's another couple of chunks that are falling out. Look at all this stuff. Something about this gun is shredding brass and then filling the bolt. I don't see any more coming out. There's still a little bit inside the cam pin hole. rub my finger here about the brass that I knocked out of the bolt. That all came out of the bolt carrier, out of the bolt actually. Firing pin channel and the extractor. There is a ton of brass in this gun. So I don't know what to tell you, Nick. Nick is the one who was commenting on my original video. Nick is the CEO of the company. Nick is the one who's been emailing and the owner of this gun and the previous two guns. Speaking of emailing, when he started getting light strike issues on his first range outing, he talked to us at the store. Took it out a second time, and then after the second trip, he emailed Nick at DesertTech and told him it was having light strike issues. He was told, and I don't know if it was Nick who told him or who, I mean, the email was from Nick. I don't know if Nick actually wrote the email, but somebody there told him to make sure you're pulling the gun tight enough into your shoulder. Because if you don't do that, it can cause bolt cycling issues. I know what limp wristing a Glock does. I've never heard of anyone limp shouldering a rifle. And even if that was causing malfunctions, that would be a feeding issue. This is a light strike issue. I don't know if they even have a clue what's going on over there. As for DesertTech, and I'm sure I'm going to end up, apparently I'm already famous in the subreddit from DesertTech because my last video apparently is making the rounds over there and I'm the most hated DesertTech guy. I'm not trying to bash the gun. Actually, the Wlvrn, I really like the looks of it. It's just, I am flabbergasted at how bad luck this customer has had with their rifles. Two MDRXs and now a Wlvrn. None of them functioning right. Like I said, out at the range, this one here managed to make it through 160 rounds today. And it ran through it fine. So when I disassembled this and I started finding all the brass back inside the bolt, which is what disabled it previously, and which is what DesertTech said disabled the previous MDRX. So I don't know what's going on with your gun, guys. It is eating brass and ingesting it and getting it into the firing pin channel. So your gun is disabling itself. It's nothing to do with ammo. Speaking of that, ammo. If you saw me shooting, you saw that I had this giant bin. These are the, almost lost that. These are the mags I used today. 430 rounders and a 40 rounder. And here's the brass. I don't know if you can see that. There it is. You can see all the brass. I kept it. I'm gonna put it in a bag. There is not a single popped primer on any of these. This gun is not popping primers. This is not an ammo issue. This is a gun eating itself issue. So, unfortunately, both for DesertTech and the customer, I'm assuming he's probably gonna be getting a hold of them and wanting the money back and just calling it quits at this point because he's had way worse luck than anybody deserves. All right, camera's back on because I forgot to point this out. See if I can get this thing to show up in here. There we go. I don't know if you can see all these shavings that are in there. That's the firing pin channel. If you look on this side of it, see if it'll focus. Come on, focus. If you look at, come on, focus. There is brass buildup. Oh, you know what? That'll probably come off with a Q-tip. Yeah, there's a bunch of brass. There you go, you can see it on the tip of the Q-tip. That's in the hole in the cam pin where the firing pin goes through. Look at all that. Can you see that? That's insane. And now, there's a whole bunch of just loose brass shavings. Falling out of everything here. All right, keep putting this thing back together. Because at this point, everybody that I know is done with this thing, unfortunately. So, I mean, really, it is a good looking gun. I like bullpups. I don't shoot them enough to, like if you saw me shooting, I kept hitting the bolt release when I was trying to hit a mag release. I mean, I've got a whopping 200 rounds through a DesertTech at this point. So I'm obviously not down with the manual of arms for this gun. It is a nice looking gun though. And I do like bullpups. I just like ones that run. Please don't forget your ABCs. Always be carrying. Have your gun with you everywhere you go. You never know when something bad's gonna happen. You don't get to plan when the bad thing happens. The only thing you can plan is being prepared when it happens. Part of being prepared is having your gun with you. Always be carrying. Matt from 2A Cops. To all the cop haters out there, hey, make sure you throw some comments down below. Tell me how much you hate the cops. It totally does not help the algorithms. Please don't comment down there. I was lying. I don't want you to comment. Don't put any comments about how bad cops are and how much they hate guns and all that stuff. So, yeah, anyway, have a good one. All right, so, hey, look at that. And before anybody blows me up, actually, let's start over. I'm gonna give you an intro. Hey, it's Matt from Boise Black. No, it's 2A Cops. Hey there, Matt from 2A Cops. Quit pointing. Hey, Reddit.